On the 6th of June 1980, precisely at 3:30 in the afternoon, the weather was rough and the rain was pouring like crazy. In such weather, a 57-year-old man decided to venture out of his house to buy a few things. His wife cautioned him not to go out due to the severe weather, but he declined and said, "I won't go far. I'm just going to fetch everything from the supermarket next door." Pay close attention to this because our story today is peculiar and we need your contribution in the comments for a possible solution. Remember, he was only going to the supermarket next door. Time passed, over an hour, and the man didn't come back. His wife went out to look for him but couldn't find him. Night fell, and there was no sign of him. His wife had no other choice but to report it to the police. Indeed, she informed them, and they began an investigation. The first suspect was his wife, who had reported his disappearance because she was the last one to see him. The police suspected that she had abducted him and hid him somewhere. Why did they suspect her? Because the police found out that her husband never actually entered the supermarket for 5 days. His world was flipped upside down until someone named Trevor Park contacted the police and told them he saw the body at his workplace. The police went to the location he indicated, and indeed, they discovered that it was a body. The guy I told you about in the beginning, he vanished. You might say that was the end of the story, but the surprise was that everything began from the moment they discovered the body. And from that time until, in 2005, every now and then, a new narrative connected to the case would appear because the body that was found was anything but ordinary. The location it was found and the manner it ended up there and all the details drove the investigators crazy. Everyone was convinced that this person met an unusual end, and things became even more convoluted. After some time, due to an incident involving the police officer who examined the body, he couldn't comprehend it. And during that time, everyone was certain that the one who killed this man was definitely a being, not a human. I'll start with a man named Zygmunt Jan Adamski, born in 1923 in a small village to the east. Zygmunt's life wasn't anything special. Simple life, poor family, harsh conditions. Zygmunt lived among these circumstances which were due to the stringent laws of the Soviet Union. At that time, there was no alternative for Zygmunt. As he grew older, he worked as a coal miner. All the countries in the Union are focusing on coal at that time, which was the oil of that era. Indeed, when he turned 15, he worked in a coal mine near his house until he was 30 years old, when he decided to start a family. He got married, and after 4 years of marriage, he faced reality and decided to escape and immigrate from Poland to England, hoping life there would be better. Indeed, in 1961, he travelled and settled in a small town subordinate to the British city of Yorkshire. Ironically, fate had it that he couldn't find any job and was forced to work again as a coal miner and stayed in this situation for 19 years until June 6, 1980. On this date, as I told you earlier, Zygmunt decided to leave his house to buy some things, but after that, he disappeared and no one knew his track until one found a body after 5 days in a coal mine in the outskirts of the city Yorkshire. Obviously, the one who contacted the police and informed them about a body in the factory yard was the factory owner's son named Trevor Park. Now, things started getting complicated, and you won't believe this. Trevor admitted that he saw the body from above, from the window of his father's office. If he wasn't in the office, he wouldn't have been able to see the body. You will find out why in a moment. After a few minutes, precisely at 4:15 in the afternoon, the police arrived at the factory and asked Park about the location of the body. He pointed to it being on a pile of coal. The pile's height was more than 3 meters above the ground, which means the body could only be seen from above. The coal was small soft, so anyone who wants to go up on the hill will leave footprints that came out evil. His name is Alan Govdry, and his colleague is on the hill, and I remember the name of Alan well because it is the second half of the story. A hero. Now the important thing is that they started examining the body, and after a while they asked for a specialized team to examine the thing they saw. In front of them, when the investigators arrived, they noticed that although the body was on a coal hill, that it was clean and the traces of coal were not on his clothes except from the side that was from below that they put on the coals. Now focus with me well on the things that I showed with them. The ones who saw her first thing, as we said, the clothes of Zygmunt were clean. I mean the one who brought out the body. Up he pulled it and pulled it on the hill. Sure, he was carrying it and put it up quietly, but then with this, the height is very hard to hold one and look at it because the coal will fall with all a step and pulls the person down. The second possibility is that the killer had a crane in which he carried Zygmunt and put it on the hill. But this possibility is impossible because, sure, the guards will pay attention to it, therefore the first possibility. Despite the difficulty, it is the most accurate. But the surprise was that the police did not find any trace footprints neither on the hill nor on the surrounding dirt ground. So the first puzzling mystery is, how did the body get on top without being footprints? The second thing they noticed is that he was wearing his pants backwards, the back pockets from the front and the front ones from behind, and also his shoes were crosswise, right to left and left to right. And here too, there were two probabilities. The first, that Zygmunt did not die. He wasn't wearing it, or the one who wore it did not know how to differentiate between right and left, face and back. The second possibility is that the one who dressed him was in a hurry and wanted to get rid of the body as soon as possible. That's why he did not focus or pay attention to the issue of sides. But this possibility is weak because anyone in the world, even unconsciously, will distinguish the orientation issue. So that's the second mystery. Why was he dressed this way? That way they also noticed that his facial expressions were indicative of fear. The eyes were fully opened and bulging, the shape of the mouth, contractions of facial muscles, and the yellowish skin tone indicating that he was afraid. And what supported this idea is that the forensic examination revealed that he was the cause of death. He had a heart attack 4 hours prior to the time his body was spotted. They noticed burn marks on his shoulder, neck, and on the back of his head, and a grey, ashy substance in the burnt areas. If you look up Zygmunt, you'll find all sources confirming that up to now, no one has clarified what the substance was. The only known statement regarding the substance is that science is incapable of determining its source. It's as if there's an intended meaning behind that statement. Let me tell you, everything I've told you so far appears ordinary compared to what they found after dissecting his body. It was discovered that Zygmunt's beard was shaved the day before the body was discovered. His cute abductor shaved him on the 4th day, and the man suffered a heart attack and died on the 5th day. Even the police and investigative committee were at a loss. How did the body end up there? What was the cause of the burns on his body? What was the substance they found? And why was he wearing toys? On the contrary, how was he able to shave his beard while he was kidnapped? All of these questions remained unanswered. As usual, anything we can't find an answer to, we attribute to aliens. What further complicated matters is that it was Zygmunt. He was calm, and there's no reason why he should have been kidnapped or die like this. A few days later, they closed the case, and the authorities prevented anyone from investigating or following up on it, and things remained like this. For 6 months, and after 6 months there was a strange event. This event confirmed that the aliens were the ones who killed Zygmunt Adamski on December 18, 1980, and specifically at 12:50 at night. It became a story, the only witness to it is now Godfrey the policeman who examined Zygmunt's body and who I told you to keep remembering the first time we started talking about the important topic at 12:50 at night. Like I told you, the policeman who went out to investigate a case and a report was repeated several times. There was a strange phenomenon that was happening in the farm surrounding the village where Zygmunt lived. Every couple of days, the cows in the farm would disappear and reappear. And what a coincidence. The same policeman who saw Zygmunt's body comes out to investigate the matter, and when at 12 o'clock at night, it's as if they were filming a horror movie. The events wouldn't happen like this. The important thing is the policeman was driving his car between the fields and he was going to the scene of the report. And suddenly, while he was on the way, he saw a strange object from a distance. And when he got closer, he saw it was something like a large bus. It was higher than a meter off the ground. And in the confusion of the shock, without thinking, the police officer grabbed the transmitter and tried to contact the police station. But the transmission was cut off. It's like a horror movie, God willing. Suddenly, and in a blink of an eye, he closed his eyes and opened them and found himself in a car, in a different place far from where he was, a distance of 5 kilometers, and he was taken by surprise. He was barefoot, and his shoes were neatly placed on the seat next to the driver's seat, and when he looked at his watch, he was shocked. It was 1:45. He thought in a glimpse. He had walked 5 kilometers, removed his shoes, and half an hour had passed. Regardless, thank God he was not scared and the situation did not affect him. He kept moving toward the farm of the missing cows, and upon arrival, he was taken aback that the farm was devoid of cows. The barn door was shut, and there were no signs of the cows' hooves. How did the cows disappear and get out of the barn with no trace of their hooves? Indeed, people were dumbfounded with the police officer's story, and now everyone is certain that he's the one who abducted Zygmunt. They are aliens. And all this story happened at that time, and rumors had it that they abducted him in order to conduct research on him. And he said what during all this period? Oh my, he didn't know who had abducted him. and on the 4th day they shaved his beard. On the 5th day, he saw them and was scared of them and suffered a heart attack, and he died. And after his death, they dressed him in a wrong way because they didn't know the right way and came with the flying saucer in the middle of the day and landed it over Coal Hill. I mean, I don't know what to say to you. This is not my speaking. This is what they were saying at that time. Sure, you see the topic is humorous and not logical. But let me tell you that the case of Zygmunt Adamski is documented as an abnormal phenomenon. Even the official sources are filing the charges against the aliens, and some consider it undeniable evidence of the existence of aliens. In addition to that, there are dozens of reports in the city of Shire about seeing flying saucers and lots of talk there about abnormal phenomena like the disappearance of cows, cattle, and pets, and the large and mysterious circles that were drawn in the fields. And now we return to the picture that we saw at the beginning of the video. The man who was holding a book in his hand, who is now the police officer Godfrey, who saw the flying saucer between the fields and who was the first one to see the body of Zygmundi. Now, after he told the story that happened to him, he became very famous and worked in the media for a long time, and since it's a nice job, he said, let's make the most of it. Why don't I write a book about the strange and cryptic stories that were happening in the village where I used to work? And indeed, his books were very popular and people believed him, and this became a witness to the existence of aliens in the world in general. 2005, Adamski's family stated that they discovered that Zygmunt had borrowed a large sum of money from an obese person money and that he was late in paying the amount. It is likely that this person is the one who kidnapped Zygmunt to torture him, and he is the one who killed him. But now during this period he was writing a book and people follow him and believe in his words, and of course all of these, with now Adamski's family lied, and the policeman Alan, who became a famous writer, stated that he supposed that the one who kidnapped Zygmunt is a human. So why until this moment no one knew what the material is which was on his body when he died? And of course his supporters to now, and all the believers in the idea of the existence of aliens, believed his words and supported his opinion and lied Adamski's family. Why? Because people love the best story for me. I think about it, praise God. What a strange coincidence that the policeman himself who saw the body is the only witness to the existence of a satellite dish, no? And he comes out to investigate a case at 12:15 at night, like horror movies, and the one of you wants to come back to talk about the material, why no one knows about her anything for today. So let me tell you why we don't assume that there is no Hulamia and the object of the head. From the invention of the policeman Alan now, who turned into a famous person after he was just a policeman in a village far away. And maybe this material is a normal thing. But there are sides that we want you and me and others to stay. We believe in the idea of aliens, and there are always question marks in our minds, and we stay afraid and believe in the idea that there is a stronger side than us as human beings is the one that rules us, and at any moment you can terminate us. Look, I don't deny it is a strange story of Zygmunt, and it has a lot of question marks, and assuming that the story is true, and there are no exaggerations in it, but the book of the one itself is all stupidity and nonsense. A book like this, why to spread, and how he was able to shove for him. What is the policeman saw him not shaving? Who helped him publish? The book answered this question by yourself in the comments, because as I told you before, the interest of decision makers in this world makes you afraid of tomorrow, and there is no idea that there is power except the will of the Lord of the worlds is what controls our destiny. I see that there are many topics that are not logical proofs that there are parties benefiting from its spread. And in a video from the channel I made a while ago, I explained all this thing to you again. I will tell you this story is really strange, but it is not necessary that everything we did not understand be behind aliens or hidden creatures. This is